In this video, we are going to explore more about modern chicken farming, in particular some process involved in egg harvesting technology and hatchery that are efficient and save a lot of money to farmers. From the farm to your plate. Whether eggs come from a common chicken or an exotic bird, you must store and incubate them carefully for a successful hatch. Environmental conditions, handling, sanitation, and record keeping are all important factors when it comes to incubating and hatching eggs. A fertile egg is alive. Each egg contains living cells that can become a viable embryo and then a chick. Eggs are fragile, and a successful hatch begins with undamaged eggs that are fresh, clean, and fertile. You can produce fertile eggs yourself or obtain them elsewhere. While commercial hatcheries produce quality eggs that are highly fertile, many do not ship small quantities. If you mail order eggs, be sure to pick them up promptly from your receiving area. Hatchability will decrease if eggs are handled poorly or get too hot or too cold in transit. If you produce the eggs on site, you must care for the breeding stock properly to ensure maximum fertility. Fertile eggs must be collected carefully and stored properly until they are incubated. Keeping the eggs at proper storage temperatures keeps the embryo from starting and stopping development, which increases embryo mortality. Collecting eggs frequently and storing them properly delays embryo development until you are ready to incubate them. Once you have eggs to incubate, avoid damaging or contaminating them. Wash your hands frequently to remove bacteria from your hands. An incubator is basically a box that holds eggs while maintaining an appropriate temperature, humidity, and oxygen level. Incubators have varying capacities and adapters for eggs from different species. Popular incubator models often include automatic turners, humidifiers, and temperature controllers. Egg turners can usually be purchased separately for incubators that do not include them. Humidifiers can be the type that disperses water vapor as needed, or many smaller incubators use a simple water reservoir. Temperature is controlled by older wafer systems or the newer digital thermostats. A hatchery recreates the right conditions for chicks to grow, mature and, well, hatch on a much bigger scale. Here's how it works. When the eggs arrive, they're placed in an incubator. Inside, temperature, humidity, and airflow are precisely controlled to facilitate an ideal environment for chicks to develop. When the chicks are nearly ready to hatch, they're moved to a hatching room. Along the way, they get some basic vaccinations, so odds are they won't need antibiotics later. After a few final days in the hatching room, the chicks break through the shells. According to the World Watch Institute, 74% of the world's poultry meat and 68% of eggs are produced intensively. One alternative to intensive poultry farming is free-range farming using lower stocking densities. Poultry producers routinely use nationally approved medications, such as antibiotics, in feed or drinking water to treat disease or to prevent disease outbreaks. Some FDA-approved medications are also approved for improved feed utilization. A carefully controlled environment that avoids crowding, chilling, overheating, or frightening is almost universal in poultry farming. Cannibalism, which expresses itself as toe picking, feather picking, and tail picking, is controlled by debyacking at 1 day of age and by other management practices. The feeding, watering, egg gathering, and cleaning operations are highly mechanized. Birds are usually housed in wire cages with 2 or 3 animals per cage, depending on the species and breed, and 3 or 4 tiers of cages superposed to save space. Cages for egg-laying birds have been found to increase production, lower mortality, reduce cannibalism, lower feeding requirements, reduce diseases and parasites, improve culling, and reduce both space and labor requirements. Commercial brooder houses may be very large, having several brooder units, underfloor heat or heat lamps, fan ventilation, automatic waterers and feeders, and large doors through which tractors and litter-removing equipment can pass. Broiler farms raise chickens that supply grocery stores, restaurants, and any place that you would get chicken from to consume. Breeder farms, however, produce the eggs that are sent to the broiler farms after they hatch. Breeder farms are the first step in the process of producing chickens that will eventually be consumed. Artificial selection has led to a great increase in the speed with which broilers develop and reach slaughter weight. The time required to reach 1.5 kilograms live weight decreased from 120 days to 30 days between 1925 and 2005. Selection for fast early growth rate and feeding and management procedures to support such growth have led to various welfare problems in modern broiler strains. Welfare of broilers is of particular concern given the large number of individuals that are produced. For example, the US in 2011 produced approximately 9 billion broiler chickens. Some chicken you buy may be labeled raised without hormones and others may not, but all chicken you buy is free of added or artificial hormones and steroids. In fact, federal regulations prohibit the use of added hormones and steroids in all poultry. The chicken that is labeled raised without hormones must also include a statement saying that no hormones are used in the production of any poultry raised in the United States. So why are modern chickens bigger than those of the past? Modern farming techniques. From day one, chickens are given a better start than ever before through advanced feeding and housing, good breeding, and close communication with veterinarians throughout their lives. Chicken farmers are raising larger, healthier birds than ever before. Broiler chickens, the type raised for meat, generally take up to 7 weeks to reach market weight. Once they've reached the proper size and weight, workers trained in humane care arrive to catch each chicken at the farm by hand. During this process, chickens are transferred into holding cages or modular bins, specifically designed for transport to the processing plant, aimed to ensure that birds don't hurt themselves or other birds, and that air is able to circulate. Poultry meat is the most widely eaten meat in the world and provides a large part of the world population with high-quality animal protein. The world's population is growing, and the consumption of meat per person is still increasing. The demand for chicken meat will therefore only continue to increase for the foreseeable future. We are still seeing an annual increase in the consumption of meat worldwide, with the demand for chicken meat growing faster than other types. Chicken meat is cheap and therefore first in line for the population of developing countries, such as China and India. In addition, chicken is popular because its consumption is not forbidden by major religions, and chicken meat fits well into a healthy diet. In Western Europe, the growth is not as large, more and more people are eating vegetarian food. This is compensated at a global level by the ever-increasing population of developing countries. When broiler chicks are a day old, they are transported in transport modules, or chick boxes, from the hatchery to the farm. Chicks travel along a conveyor belt and are dropped into transport boxes or modules. During this process, the chicks are immunized with spray and/or subcutaneous vaccinations. Chickens reared for meat are called broilers or broiler chickens. They originate from the jungle fowl of the Indian subcontinent. The broiler industry has grown due to consumer demand for affordable poultry meat. Breeding for production traits and improved nutrition have been used to increase the weight of the breast muscle. Commercial broiler chickens are bred to be very fast-growing in order to gain weight quickly. In their natural environment, chickens spend much of their time foraging for food. This means that they are highly motivated to perform species-specific behaviors that are typical for chickens. Natural behaviors, such as foraging, pecking, scratching, and feather maintenance behaviors like preening and dust bathing. Trees are used for perching at night to avoid predators. The life of chickens destined for meat production consists of 2 distinct phases. They are born in a hatchery and moved to a grow-out farm at 1 day old. They remain here until they are heavy enough to be slaughtered. Regardless of which type of feeding system is used, feeding space is absolutely critical. If feeder space is insufficient, growth rates will be reduced and uniformity severely compromised. Feed distribution and the proximity of the feeder to the birds are key to achieving target feed consumption rates. All feeder systems should be calibrated to allow for sufficient feed volume with minimal waste. Meat broilers are usually slaughtered at approximately 35 to 49 days of age, well before they become sexually reproductive at 5 to 6 months of age. However, the bird's parents, often called broiler breeders, must live to maturity and beyond so they can be used for breeding. As a consequence, they have additional welfare concerns. Meat broilers have been artificially selected for an extremely high feeding motivation, but are not usually feed restricted, as this would delay the time taken for them to reach slaughter weight. Broiler breeders have the same highly increased feeding motivation, but must be feed restricted to prevent them becoming overweight, with all its concomitant life-threatening problems. An experiment on broilers' food intake found that 20% of birds allowed to eat as much as they wanted either died or had to be killed because of severe illness between 11 and 20 weeks of age. Either they became so lame they could not stand, or they developed cardiovascular problems. Broiler breeders fed on commercial rations eat only a quarter to a half as much as they would with free access to food. They are highly motivated to eat at all times, presumably leading to chronic frustration of feeding. Because broiler breeders live to adulthood, they might show feather pecking or other injurious pecking behavior. To avoid this, they might be beak trimmed, which can lead to acute or chronic pain. Mass production of chicken meat is a global industry, and at that time, only 2 or 3 breeding companies supplied around 90% of the world's breeder broilers. The total number of meat chickens produced in the world was nearly 47 billion in 2004. Of these, approximately 19% were produced in the US, 15% in China, 13% in the EU 25, and 11% in Brazil. Consumption of broilers is surpassing that of beef in industrialized countries, with demand rising in Asia. Worldwide, 86.6 million tons of broiler meat were produced in 2014, and as of 2018, the worldwide estimation of broiler chick population was approximately 23 billion. Live shackle slaughter is the most common method of killing broiler chickens raised for food, and is the industry standard for producers in the US. Live shackle slaughter involves unloading conscious chickens from their crates, hanging them upside down from shackles, and passing them through an electrified water bath to stun them before their throats are cut, and they are immersed in boiling water for feather removal, and finally they are processed into various meat products. Other slaughter method is the controlled atmosphere systems. It involves using non-poisonous gases that slowly render the chickens unconscious, and while still in their crates, then unloading the dead or unconscious birds, hanging them upside down from shackles before their throats are cut, and they are immersed in boiling water for feather removal, and finally they are processed into various meat products.